I've pissed a lot of people off lately with my takes on Helldivers 2, and most of it doesn't matter since it's not something that overall affects your daily life. I'm not being racist or homophobic, like none of that. I'm just giving opinions on a game, okay? Video games. My experience or take on a game does not mean you are wrong for how you feel about the game. It's just my opinion. I don't like certain games. You may like those certain games. It's fine. It's just an opinion. In my past video of me talking about Helldivers 2, I brought up issues with the game crashing, the gameplay loop, silent nerfs or buffs that aren't put in patch notes. I talked about the player base being very elitist and having this sort of tribalism attitude towards negative feedback or criticism. This all stemmed from talking about why I don't play the game anymore. Helldivers 2 is a good game at its core, but there are things that I personally feel take the piss out of the game. You might agree or disagree, and that is okay. That's why it's an opinion. But if you are like the hundreds of people who have attacked me for my opinions on a video game, then I do not care for what you have to say. A thing to also note is that my opinions change very frequently, and a lot of the time I'll recognize that some of the things I have said are just a bad take or flat out wrong, but that doesn't mean that all of them are inherently wrong. Pretty much what I'm saying is I know I'm not like the god of opinions. It's not like I must be right. I have played story games, multiplayer games, PvE games, PvEVP games. I've played a lot of stuff. I've never played something like League of Legends or Smite. I've enjoyed story games like Spider-Man 2018, the Arkham games, Assassin's Creed. I currently play a good bit of Rainbow Six Siege. I loved playing the first Left 4 Dead, and I really enjoyed playing Call of Duty Zombies. This is sort of where I'm coming from. That's sort of the games that I can list off the top of my head. And in my last video, I brought up a point about how I don't know all of the names of the enemies for automatons or bugs, and a lot of people commented saying that they couldn't take me seriously because I didn't know all of them. One thing to acknowledge is that the game does not flat out show all of the enemies that you are fighting. On top of that, I have a very bad memory. I will remember things that are the least important and forget things that I probably should be remembering. But remembering all the enemy types in a video game is the least important thing. I know what most of them do and what they look like, I just don't know the names. For stating any issue I've had with the game, I've had numerous people say I'm dog shit at the game, I'm bad, that the video has to be satire. I think it was the CEO of Arrowhead, which is the studio that, makes Helldivers, you most likely know this. They have said numerous things along the lines of skill issue, which I've seen a bunch of people respond to those tweets saying things like, finally, a company says something like this, or they have the balls to say this. This makes more players feel comfortable for shitting on other players, because their dad basically, told them that it's okay to do so. Imagine selling any product, and after people have said that they have an issue with the product, you tell them that they are the problem. The people who bought Helldivers 2 when it first launched are not experiencing the same game as right now. I don't mind enemies being added and not put in the patch notes, but I do mind that weapons and stratagems are silently nerfed and buffed without the community knowing. It's not something that you should be forced to have to figure out on your own. I think the issue stems from knowing that the really casual players that don't frequently use the internet or keep up with the news on Helldivers are put at a disadvantage. They will never know if something has changed, and they have used it for a very long time. You will piss off people who have had no issues with the things that they have been using, and it was changed randomly without being officially said. There are people who have issues with the host being able to kick players out of their game, and Arrowhead has said that they're looking into pretty much a rework, but there already is one. Host your own lobbies, something that is possible for everyone, something that even people like my mom and dad would even know to do like this. And might I add, they have played the game. You don't even need friends to host your own lobby. Leave your matchmaking open or send out an SOS and you'll get people to join eventually. Some people don't recognize that they are being kicked for something as simple as the host didn't mean to have their matchmaking open, or the person is deliberately killing their team with stratagems. Or ultimately, they are wasting reinforcements constantly because they run off and die without doing any objectives. A lot of people hear me say that the first patch, or the game, after the first patch, the game was unfun or something like that. They hear this and instantly go, it's because the breaker or railgun was nerfed and that was my issue. I have said on multiple accounts that that was not the problem with the update. The issue was that they fucked up the spawns for the heavier types of enemies and also tried fixing it, then made the lighter enemy spawns even worse. And still, they say that the stratagems are meant to be the thing that really deals with the stuff that you are fighting because that's the main important thing. You don't matter, the stratagems matter. But they have things like modifiers that only allow you to have 3 stratagems on a certain mission. They have random energy fields that disable your ability to use stratagems. They also have things like 100% call-in time, which makes things take twice as long to land, like the drop ship, till it'll take 4 minutes instead of 2, or 50% cooldown that makes the stratagems take longer to be able to use again. This wouldn't be an issue if your primary was actually pretty good, or your support weapon was, as good as a support weapon probably should be. We have seen them say things in patch notes like, we don't understand why you would not go for the obvious weak spot on a charger, because it was supposed to be their head, when shooting their legs was actually able to kill them faster. It's all about making things more efficient and easier on the player. On the topic of efficient, there is ultimately no reason to play on the hardest difficulty besides trying to flex to people that is the only thing that you play. It gives slightly more samples, and it gives it's just so unreasonably hard. And when I say hard, I'm going to put this out here. Hard does not mean you can't do it. It's just not worth the risk. There's no point. It's just that little bit too stressful. Most of the randoms you play with don't understand how to play. And when you play with your friends, it feels like a chore. Not because of my friends. I'm just going to put that out there. My friends are not a chore, because some people like to take things out of context. Playing with your friends, it feels easier, but you feel drained after playing on the hardest difficulty. The XP or the medals, even the requisition slips, are not worth the amount of time that it takes to get through one of these missions. I will say that I love when they add new missions, like the silos and protecting those, like all that sort of stuff. It's great. I love that we get new battle passes, we get new weapons, new support weapons. They make the game feel like an actual live service game, in comparison to something like Fortnite, which used to update the game very frequently, but stopped once it became so popular. As of me recording this, they came out with another battle pass, which I know it's a war bond contract thing, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, but I'm just calling it a battle pass because that's literally what it is. And it added a bunch of stuff that was fire-based, which I find pretty funny because they added a ship module that makes fire damage from stratagems deal 25% more damage. And in my opinion, adding things like this type of ship module make the game more fun to play because it becomes easier. Originally, a lot of the ship modules didn't really do much. They didn't overall affect your gameplay. 25% more damage with fire actually makes a difference. I'm a person who likes difficulty, but with reason. Like, even with my job. Why would I do something the hard way when there is a less stressful way to complete the exact same thing? I can understand not wanting to gigabuff the player because you're not supposed to be able to, like, 1v1 million. I'm all for that. I don't think that Helldivers would be as good of a game if you were just able to stomp everything. But if you aren't able to stomp everything in your path, then at times you are going to need to run away. Maybe I didn't explain it properly in my other videos, because yes, you don't always have to run. Trust me, you don't always have to run. You can hunker down for a bit, but a part of the gameplay loop is running away. And maybe people, don't like that, phrasing. It's kiting. That's what you're doing, is kiting. Because you cannot base up in an area because enemies will kill you for sitting in the same spot for long enough. And that's mostly talking about like the hardest difficulty. You have to run a lot of the time. Exfilling or, going through the dropship, all that, at the end, on the hardest difficulty, is almost next to impossible due to the amount of things that have spawned. Like, I can't fully explain it without someone taking one thing out of context. It's not impossible, okay? You can do it. It's just really fucking annoying. You need to consistently run and gather yourself, like waiting for stratagems to be off cooldown or even just reload. And people have had a major issue with me saying that you have to run away. Because yes, I would really enjoy being able to slaughter hundreds at a time without much risk. But that takes away a lot of the difficulty in this game. There are things that I would prefer, but I understand that the game is not built for that. But there are a lot of players who have wanted or suggested things online in response. Now, I couldn't find this exact tweet or whatever, but I do recall the CEO of Arrowhead had pretty much said that it's their game and it's going to be the way that they want it. This sort of passive aggression is just random and unnecessary. I do like that they have clapped back at people who have, made fun of server issues when that was a whole problem, because they can't do anything. It's out of their control. They had people working on it. The CEO can't really do much. But like the statement that has pretty much poisoned the entire Helldivers community, a game for everyone is a game for no one, making updates to the game, doing things with your game, and the community doesn't agree with it, it's just bad. It's plain out bad. You can't please everyone, okay? So nerfing broken stuff makes sense. Nerfing things that are outlandish, it makes sense. It's perfect. But when they make changes and everyone is like, what the fuck? I wouldn't doubt that they will just double down and not fix the issue. Telling the people that paid for your game and can no longer refund it and want to support your game that it's a skill issue or that it's your game and it's the way that you want it will over time slowly kill the community. It's already toxic enough. Like, trust me, I enjoy seeing the hate comments of people saying, it must be treason, and that might not even be fully hate. It's just people commenting. And the reason I enjoy it as much is because the person doesn't really care. They're not going to type out a whole fucking novel because I said that the game isn't as fun. They don't agree, but they don't really care, okay? Those are the most normal people that I've gotten in my comments. But there are a lot of people who do feel very hurt by me saying that the game has crashing issues and stuff like that. The last thing I will leave off on is that a lot of people need to understand that Helldivers 1 had like 6,000 people playing or something like that. Like, that was the all-time peak on Steam charts. Now, that doesn't equivalent, that's not equivalent to PlayStation, but that's for PC. PC has a lot of people playing, okay? So pretty much everyone is new to Helldivers 2. Like, everyone. I mean, no one has just been playing Helldivers 2 since forever, and Helldivers 1 isn't the same as Helldivers 2. So when I see comments of people saying that they know everything about the game, or that I'm wrong, or, you know, certain things like that, and they already have like 1,000 hours, they know everything about the game, it's not a flex when you say this. I hope people understand this. You're not flexing. You need to take a break. Play a different game or go interact with something. Having that much time on a game in this short amount of time is insane. I like Helldivers 2, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be okay with poor communication and bad updates. Like, remember when they finally patched the mech so that it couldn't blow itself up? Yeah, they don't fucking playtest their game. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. I'm not doing my whole normal outro because I know probably a lot of the people watching are hating, and I don't want to wish you guys a good day because you guys, most of the time, the people who are hating, okay? Not everyone. The people who are extremely hateful and hurtful for no reason, you don't deserve a good day. Anyways, bye guys.